Hey guys, welcome back to another KDP income report for November 2024. In this video, I'm going to discuss my sales on Amazon from publishing low and medium content books, and I share my overall ad spend and my results in comparison to last year. I'll also briefly talk about how December is going so far. December, of course, typically being the month of the year that all publishers look forward to the most because it tends to be the highest in royalties as well. So I hope that's going well for you so far. So let me know how November has gone for you. November was certainly quite different to the previous year, and it was quite a bit lower sales-wise, and I also spent more on advertising. However, I did assume that would happen due to how this year has been in general. The majority of the months have been lower royalty-wise than the previous year, and also I did have to unpublish a book that does well in Q4. I'll link to a video I talked about that in the corner of this video. And then Amazon added VAT on top of the listing prices in the UK, and that forced me to reduce my listing prices, and therefore my overall royalties were reduced from that as well. So even though that's the case, I don't think that's the whole story either. I think I'm just generally selling less of some of my main sellers as well. Even though they are still selling well, they're just selling a bit less than they did, and especially in Q4, which was crazy last year. Generally though, the same books that sell well in Q4 are still selling well in Q4. But as far as anything else, it might be just obviously increased competition or possibly algorithm updates and variations that will all contribute. So these are all things you don't really have that much control over. As far as any surprises, well, one good thing is I do have my KDP reports back. I couldn't access them for many months, but one day last month I logged in and they had returned. So not many surprises aside from that. I did have a new book that took off last Q4 that I had published in a group of 3 that were a similar niche, but this Q4, that particular one barely has been selling at all, despite having really good reviews now, whereas last year it barely had any reviews. Instead, a different one of that series of 3 has taken off instead. And I only published one single 2025 planner this year, but it is selling quite well and it's selling on its own. Even though I'm running ads to it, it's mainly selling organically. And I always say that I'm going to create more planners every year, and I don't. It's just I don't enjoy creating them. I find them quite sort of boring to do, and also the fact that they only sell for a limited period of time and then you've got to do them all again next year isn't very appealing to me. But at the same time, it's nice to create some if they're going to boost your Q4 sales. So I think I will do more than just one next year. Also, I added some A+ content to some books that sold here or there but didn't sell that well, and they all started selling much, much better now, which you can imagine that would happen. I just hadn't got around to doing that, and I double-checked, and last Q4 I definitely wasn't selling many of them. So in November this year, I made $9,359, and the highest day being quite near the beginning of the month, which was $931, and the lowest day was right at the start, which was $135. And I'm just going to show you this year then in comparison to the previous year. On the left, you can see that last year in 2023, I made $10,768 in November. So that's quite a bit higher, as you can see. And this is the ad spend as well. So I spent more this year and over $1,500 on advertising versus $1,100. So after advertising last year was $9,624 versus this year, which was $7,816. So quite a considerable change. But then if I looked back to 2022, I made more this year than I had then. So I guess I have to look at it like that, since this year was just lower overall. So this is the ad spend day by day. So on the highest day I spent $76, and that's gone up obviously higher this month as it's been in December. But I have been struggling with ads at the moment. I've had to switch some off completely. I've started new ones, and I think that's obviously had an impact as well over my overall sales, because I did have some long-standing ads that were just consistently working really well and they stopped working really well. So that's just been an overall challenge. So these are my marketplace stats for November. UK has been dominating as far as sales go for a really long time. When I very first started on KDP, I did get more sales in the US, but I think it was quite quickly after the first year or so, the UK started to dominate more and I got a lot less sales in the US. So 64% of the sales in November were from the UK, and That is more than usual, only 24% in the US as far as sales go. So it makes sense that my sales are going to be lower considering I had to reduce my prices in the UK. So I am getting less than I was per book in the UK now, and that's definitely having an impact. I'm also getting sales in other places like Sweden and Poland and Japan, but it's only a sale or two here or there. Australia has gone up a little bit, but it's stayed fairly similar to that for a while, and the same with Canada, around 6%. So the total profit in November then was 7,716, and that is just after my ad spend and tools. So I'll link in the description to the tools that I use. That tends to go up and down because I sometimes try out new ones and then I'll cancel them or pause them. But for the most part, it tends to be around $100 that I'll spend on tools for KDP. So I hope you're all doing okay. I know that many of the people that watch my videos are in the US, and I have been totally obsessed at the moment with the so-called drone situation in New Jersey and other locations. And we've also had them here, but there's been very limited news coverage in the UK in general on this topic. Definitely not sort of front page news or anything. So that might have changed by the time I post this. Anyway, if anyone lives in New Jersey or anywhere else where you've experienced firsthand any of these things, then feel free to comment below. But anyway, that aside, I think I'll be most likely taking the rest of the year off from YouTube. And so if I don't speak to you again beforehand, I hope you have a lovely Christmas and a happy new year. Thank you very much for watching, and I will speak to you again very soon.